Hello and welcome to this ET Now special. I'm Nayanthara Rai. Unicorn Club, we're putting the spotlight on OYO Rooms today, which has announced a big elevation and a change as far as the top management goes. I've got the founder, Ritesh Agarwal, and the new board member and CEO, Aditya Ghosh, who's been elevated. So congratulations.
Thank you. Very exciting.
I know we've always joked about how physically you might be older, but Ritesh Agarwal is a real adult. But is this a case now of a real adult, a bigger adult joining the boardroom, Ritesh?
For us here at OYO, from day one, we've had a view that each of us need to take a bigger role or step up in order to make sure that OYO continues to step up. So last year, for instance, I had to take a bigger job of making sure that OYO becomes successful globally. So in the last 1 year, as Aditya has built South Asia into one of the key markets for OYO across the world, now I felt that somebody like him, who has been able to make sure that corporate governance, large-scale company directorship has been managed by him earlier, somebody like him, including people like Betsy and others, can help me build, make sure that I and our management team together, with the help of Aditya and our other board members, can build a fantastic business in the years to come.
So Aditya, congratulations again. A lot of responsibility on you. You've had a dream run, a dream 1 year so far at OYO. So what is it that you're going to be doing now that you've been elevated? What exactly is the KRA?
Actually, something we say at OYO a lot is OYO first, that what is required for the organization. And over every once in a while, you'll see that a lot of our leaders, we step up to something new, some new role or even a bigger role that the company requires at that stage. Ritesh is now doing that, on a global basis from, where a couple of years back he was running India. There are many other colleagues of mine. So we kind of started talking and we started chatting that, given where the company is going and growing at a much more rapid pace than we had imagined it to be, the fact that, there are so many more countries, markets, people who are accepting the product. So given my experience of running a publicly traded company for a while, running a profitable business, a lot of governance, etc., coming from a highly regulated business, what could I do or what is required from the company that I should do kind of going forward, where I could bring some of that, skill and experience on the table. So the KRA probably, what we've kind of thought about, and I'm sure it'll change as we go along. But there are 5 key areas that I have been tasked to focus on a global basis. One clearly is on governance and make sure that we are really regarded to be one of those blue chip, companies around the world. Number 2 is that how do we keep the consumer at the center of all our decision making and make sure that our consumer experience is delivering on what we are promising globally. The third is that how do we create a better communication system with our stakeholders around the world, because we depend on a lot of partners, we depend on a lot of countries who support us and our growth. So how do we kind of create a better communication system there? And then there are a couple of areas which are more probably internal focused, but again, given my areas of interest and expertise, one is on safety security as being a core promise to who we are, and the second being on revenue management, so that we are able to continuously deliver better results, which are RevPAR accretive, with the consumer kind of coming in and showing higher occupancy. With what is the objective? The objective is, can we create a financially sustainable business that is really well respected, not just the largest, but largest and one of the most loved brands.
So your first priority is not to take OYO green and to be profitable?
I think it absolutely is. Having come from a business which often is considered to be one of the most difficult businesses to make money in.
They're not even surviving. You've seen a couple of airlines go down. Minister saying Air India was shut down if not privatized. You come from a very tough industry,
So coming from there, and Ritesh and I keep talking that chasing profitability, chasing financially sustainable business is absolutely very, very core to us.
Okay.
To that extent, we want to be old world in a new age business.
Correct.
So absolutely, that's going to be front and center.
And in the last 1 year that Aditya's run India, Of course, more results about this will come in our annual report that the CFO publishes annually, but you'll see that the India results have continuously improved financially. And I feel that Aditya, having seen that through here in India,
Yeah.
as well as in his previous roles, I think he'll be very supportive to
So
helping,
I want to now
helping build
get
his
you,
company.
since I have you here, because you would have read the reports. There is a value report headquartered out of Gurgaon, which has said that while your valuation has doubled in 1 year to $10 billion, your losses have mounted from about 300 odd crores to almost 2,000 crores. Is that correct?
So, two answers to this, and the first one is on the past results, which is what you quoted here.
Yes.
So, our audited reports for this year are not out yet.
Yes, of course. This is 18-19.
The 18 to 19 reports will come very soon, and whenever we announce, we'll come with an annual report. OYO has published every year an annual report with our financials and the context for it. The second thing that I want to definitely talk about is while our global business we have invested more in, a core market of South Asia, which has been held by Aditya and a very strong leadership team, continues to improve its economics. How much and what? Please wait for the annual report.
Sneak peek. No sneak peek. Have you cut down the losses? Let me ask you like that.
So for us, I think the way we think about it is we have mature regions and we have new regions.
Of course.
Our mature regions are continuously getting better in their economics. The new regions, in the early days we have to invest, but when you look at those regions as well 1 year later, you will see that they are also getting more economically sustainable. When we think about the future, because it also says about the future plans of the company, I want to make sure that those metrics are only seen more as a statutory requirement of the accountants. We as a company do not give forward-looking guidances very significantly, and regardless of those guidances, we might surprise the market positively with some of the guidance that is existent in the valuer report. But that said, Aditya in his previous company also, I guess, didn't give future guidances and did reasonably well.
From giving forward-looking guidances, but I think here's what we have focused on in the South Asia business, which is kind of the oldest. So
Yes,
in that
your
sense, the most
mature
mature,
one to take a leaf from his.
is to focus on the fundamentals of the business and make sure that we're chasing profitability. So, yeah, I think a few weeks away, but I hope to.
Is there a timeline that you can guide? You don't have to, even if you don't want to give daily, yearly guidance.
I think the annual report should be out in about a month and a half or two.
I'm booking both of you now on live television for that interview together. When it does come out, you can include Rohit too. Ritesh, if I could ask you
Maybe
now.
the CFO.
The CFO, yes.
If I could ask you, there has been one big global event which has had a domino impact perhaps in startup universe. I'm talking about the WeWorks IPO, the debacle, SoftBank globally resetting. What is it meant for you, the founder? What is it meant for OYO?
Sure. I think the first one is specific to that business. I think, of course, every global event is an opportunity to learn for all the young companies across the world. So this is an opportunity for all the young companies to learn from. Besides, I feel that specifically WeWork was that nobody can deny that it wanted to, and it has significantly changed the way people work. But of course, there have been significant learnings in the direction of profitability, in the direction of how do you build a business, and so on and so forth. I think for the big question, in my view, that is being asked worldwide is that high growth companies, is just high growth enough, or growth with profitability is the right direction?
Shouldn't that be investment banking 101? Go to for an IPO when you're profitable.
Yes. So I think that's of course the markets change very significantly, but at this point of time, this is an event which has brought a significant amount of seriousness in that direction. And I feel that it's great for the industry because every high growth company is being asked that question. And I feel that we acknowledge that, and we feel here at OYO, we are constantly in the direction, like Aditya said, of making sure that we continue moving towards the right path of profitability.
And the SoftBank global reset, what has that meant?
So I think from our perspective, we feel that it's important to dissociate the sentiment from the facts. I think everybody knows that SoftBank and SoftBank Vision Fund has been a prolific investor. They've had a bunch of very strong successes. Of course, there are some investments that will not go right when you build a big successful financial investment. So I feel eventually that won't be something that we are worried about. With us here at SoftBank, our relationship has been fantastic. Munish, who's on our board, his direction to us has always been the management has a plan that you guys have set out. All you need to do is put your head down and consistently deliver on the plan. To the extent you keep doing that, you'll build a good business.
So they have never pressed for an exit. They have not said they will not be able to pump in more, anything like that?
Look, I think generally speaking, if you build
because
a good...
they have just pumped in more into Paytm, for example.
Sure. I think from OYO's perspective, our view is if you look at our history, the amount of capital we've consumed to build a business of a reasonable size, while it is sizable capital, it is still lesser than a lot of companies of our size. So we've tried to be as capital efficient as we could be, and we will continue trying to be more. From our perspective, the Vision Fund relationship continues to go strong, and their view is deliver as per your plan, and our plan is to build a very well-run, highly respected, strong, big, but at the same time profitable business in the years to come.
Also a public company? Are you in charge of the IPO by any chance? If there's going to be an IPO, you do have Betsy on the board, who is known as the IPO queen. Look what she's done with Yahoo and eBay.
Look, I always say this, that an IPO is kind of a milestone in a journey, and I think most companies will get there at some point of time. I'm probably have been in the business long enough to know never to predict a timing or
Sure.
And that's something anyway the board decides. I think what's important is for the management team or the board to make sure that the company is built and run in a way that, loosely say IPO ready, so to speak, so that the governance framework, the financial stability, the business is built on strong fundamentals, that as and when the board decides in its wisdom, then we as a company, as a business, should not hold that decision back. And that is a million things that you do over a period of time. And I think that's what we are focused on, building a strong, sustainable business.
When I look at today's press release, Ritesh, and I'm going to ask you this question. It's not a very polite question, but I'm still going to ask nevertheless. Was this a decision also taken by the investors to tell you that, hey, you've done a fantastic job, you're a great visionary, look what you've done, last count publicly known valuation of $10 billion, but you're still a kid. You do need to have someone with experience in the room who's going to be perhaps more forthcoming, is more in India, has experience. Was it based on such conversations?
So look, I think there are two parts to it. The first one is I feel that fundamentally for our board, and this is a decision, of course, taken in consultation with the board.
Yes.
Of course, both of us talked quite a bit about it, but our board has been involved in the direction of this decision. I think the board's view is that whatever we do, it should be right for the company. The relationship that I and Aditya enjoy, like he was just talking about we as a company, like he was talking as a management leader, even though he is now on the board. That's what I really enjoy working with, because we are fundamentally able to make sure that whatever we do is right for the company, and the board is constantly thinking in that direction. I don't think it's like any of the things that you mentioned, but it is definitely
it's
saying
good to have that clarification.
Yeah,
because the market could read
yes.
it as that, has
But that
Ritesh
said-
been forced out or, have been clawed back by the investors.
Can
So it's good to have that
Can I
clarification.
interrupt you?
Am I getting into trouble?
No, I'll tell you this. And, I'm wearing my management team hat. Nobody makes the mistake of thinking Ritesh is a kid. His understanding of the business and the way he conducts
Yeah, he built it.
reviews,
Yeah.
I mean, it's
That's
just,
very nice of
it's
Aditya
just-
to say.
it's
Actually, look, I
insanely detailed.
Mutual appreciation society.
I mean, really.
But that said, I think that set, Aditya brings a skill set, let's be fair, is unique in our management team. So that kind of a skill set, being available on the board and being available to me as a leader, is fantastic for the company. So as a key shareholder of the company, I feel happy that I get the ability to have Aditya's feedback and guidance in helping build the company globally as we go and get bigger, but at the same time stronger in the years to come.
Was it tough to take this decision? Because I think a lot of founders probably struggle with this, that should I be giving away a large chunk of the executive position to someone?
Look, for me, at all points of time, the same question was asked to me last year, saying that you were running India, and Aditya is the new India CEO. Did you feel that way? And the same thing now. For me, again, it's always been about what's right for the company. I've always seen that across all of these decisions, I've always been vindicated that whenever I bring somebody who's specialist, who knows that job well, and is doing that with keen desire to do the right thing, they have been able to help the company very significantly.
Okay.
So I feel that it's probably a decision in the right direction, and I'm very excited to have Aditya in the room more often than earlier.
I think, Nantara, I do get a lot of probably undeserving attention in India, but we as an organization have had actually a history of bringing in great talent, people with a lot of experience, people coming from great organizations. And that is one core secret sauce DNA that this company has built, being able to welcome leaders and making them their own, and those leaders making OYO a part of their lifeblood, and that has worked really well. I mean, it's really a compliment to the entire organization. And of course, Ritesh for kind of setting that culture, but it's a very, very welcoming, all-encompassing sort of culture. Yeah.
I want to come back to the IPO question because I imagine you would be doing that. And with Betsy on the board, would you look at it at Dalal Street, or because you're a global company, you could look at it anywhere, right? Have you decided?
Thankfully, I'm not part of that decision, so.
You tell us. You've not passed on that to him.
This is like Aditya. It's not a decision of mine as well. I think it's a board decision that the
What
entire
is the
company-
board leaning towards?
I think the board's view at this point of time is deliver the plan. We will make this decision when the time is right. And of course, I think it's too early for us to be able to make a decision like that. Of course,
because if you look at Alibaba and what's happened in Hong Kong, and you being a primarily South Asian company, that certainly could perhaps be a new area.
Sure,
right?
I think today the world is nowhere. What you're right in is the world is nowhere at a place where we're saying that there is only one potential exchange for a global company to get listed. I think we have a brand that young people in India, actually people of across age groups, have been very, very fond of and have used. Millions of them. Worldwide, there are close to 90 million people who have touched the OYO brand. So from our perspective, we will make a decision when the time is right. But is it going to be a straightforward answer of saying which exchange it is? It's not as straightforward today. We will make a decision as a board at the right period of time.
So now that you have passed on so much to the new board members and all of that, what are you going to be busy with?
So look, I think my job continues to be just two things. Bring fantastic leaders and let them do what they're good at. Okay. Because I feel that if I set the right direction for the company and bring people who are really, really good at their jobs and have done that for a really long time, they will be able to do that much better than I can. So for me, my responsibility to the company is bring high quality talent and let them do what they have to do. If I can keep doing these two things, I believe the company can be successful.
You've had a very big buyback in this 1 year. May I just remark also, your 1 year has been very, very
entertaining.
Very entertaining in this 1 year. I'm going to come to that. But you've had almost $1 billion buyback or plus, which also reposes faith, I guess, to the investors. Here's a founder who's committed to the company. Look at the fantastic returns. Sequoia, Lightspeed, 20% plus. I think for Lightspeed is almost 30%. And Bejal Sumaya of Lightspeed continues to be on your board with a 4 to 5% stake. What was the thinking behind that?
Sure. Look, to begin with, in a company our size, Bejal has been somebody who's been a partner and advisor.
He helped OYO become OYO,
yes,
right?
Right from the very early days. And he's helped not just me, I think Aditya in the last 1 year. The number of conversations Aditya has had with Bejal, which have also been fantastically helpful for him. And I could say that for a few other leaders in our organization. So for us here at OYO, there are two things that matter at the board. One is people should be able to make sure that they make the right decisions for OYO, regardless of their commercial ownership in the business. And second, they still continue to be a reasonably large shareholder for a company our size. 4-5% holding will be pretty significant in terms of ownership. So we are very excited to have Bejal.
You're not looking to increase stake? That's what I was trying to get at.
So for us, I think, look, we have a broad group of shareholders. And I think across, depending on their fund cycles, everybody's aspiration of ownership changes. But at this point of time, Bejal and Lightspeed continue to be firmly committed for
What's your stake now?
I think the exact numbers will be out there publicly this week. Because a lot of my buybacks, I confirmed the acquisition on times. So my previous ownership was roughly 10%. And I would be investing roughly $2 billion of my family office capital in the company. So whatever that buys me additional is the ownership range that it would have.
And are you looking more fundraise?
Look, at this point of time, we have significant amount of capital on our balance sheet. We would have upwards of $2 billion across our group companies on our balance sheet. 2,300 crores looks like a big number, but that's a little over $300 million. So the company has large balance sheet out here. And our job at this point of time is to make sure that we all work together and build a fantastic business rather than go capital raising.
So this year has, of course, been, like I was saying, very entertaining, very active as well, whether it's a buyback, lots of fundraise rounds, some issues with some of your partners who decided to maybe go to the police for all of that, governance issues, all of that. Do you think that perhaps you need a tighter quality control? Do you need to be more discerning maybe to choose your partners as well?
Actually, the way I kind of think about it is that any large consumer-facing business, right? Any leader of a large consumer-facing business will always say that this is one of those things that, it's like a ever-moving goalpost, You're constantly chasing that gap between what you're promising and what you're delivering. I think that gap has become closer and closer and closer, right? But it is also, as the scale of the business has become bigger, as the expectations are so much more from consumers and partners and the larger ecosystem, we have to keep earning our stripe every day. I think our relationship with our asset partners has got so much better and stronger now, right? Because of a fundamental number of things that we set up, whether it is our partner engagement network, whether it is a loyalty program for our asset partners, whether it is partner advisory councils. I myself spend time talking directly with partners, so that Ritesh, and we get a lot of advice from there. Sharpening our core promises to our customers, making sure the whole organization gets behind it. Our employee NPS has gone up, our consumer NPS has gone up. But having said that, I think it's not a job that is done. I think it's I'll be the first person to say this is going to be
part of business.
It is.
It is part of business.
It is.
So I think from our perspective, like Aditya says, this is something that as you become a large consumer brand, there are multiple things that you have to fix and improve. I think the good news first off is that while there is noise, I want to make sure it's understood that it is a very small percentage of our family. OYO family in India is 20,000 OYO hotels now, and the noise is from a small percentage of the family. But that said, neither of us are comfortable with that noise being there. We are actively working to make sure that we reach out to these partners. Aditya and team recently announced the Club Red, which is making sure that how do we make sure that we work with our best partners. Yesterday, I met Mr. Irsyad. I was in Jaipur as a part of these asset owner meetings. So Aditya's team had set me up to meet Mr. Irsyad. He runs a 129-room hotel in Jaipur. And he was explaining to 3 other asset owners the context behind why the consumer service decisions are right. What can we do better, and so on and so forth. So our responsibility...
So that's a testimonial of sorts, and that
yes, our responsibility is listen to our partners. If there are things that we can improve, we will continuously working on improving. The large scale of asset owner relationships, like Aditya said, is probably stronger than ever before. But that said, there is small percentage of our network that we need to do a lot better job at. And that we are absolutely working towards making sure we bring the best of the results for them.
The other sore point, if I can say that, I said it's a very full with whatever, has been what the competition watchdog is suddenly going to be looking at, right? Now, as you grow, it's part of business. So, has that been closed? Is it still open? What's going on?
Actually, again, coming from a regulated business, I don't get affected by it. Maybe let's just say that. Not that I'm kind of being at all complacent to it. The good thing is that the Competition Commission gave us the opportunity to go out there and present our responses, not once but twice. And they came back and said, OYO is not dominant. Came back and said OYO is a hotel company, not a online travel agency. Came back and said there is no abusive power, and so on and so forth. There is still one thing that they want us to look at. They want to look at one of our agreements. We're happy to do so. I actually think of these as great opportunities. Great opportunities for us to go out there in a proper, judicious forum, to go out there, get the questions, explain our responses, and they come back satisfied. So I'm of that somehow, maybe because I'm a lawyer, I somehow am very comfortable in this space, and I might as well rather have the questions so that I can clarify rather than this noise and and then gossiping that actually happens.
So Ritesh, you've done co-living, you're doing co-working, hotels, of course, you're pioneering across the world. What's next for you? And the last time you, of course, the company's valued at $10 billion. What's next?
Look, I think we always say that we are less than 1% done. There's a massive opportunity in front of us. Of the Indian unbranded hotel market, OYO is probably 2, 3 or 4% market share. So it's a huge opportunity just in India. There's more in China, in United States, in Europe and more. So at this point of time, our focus is making sure that the businesses that we are currently in, we improve them, make them bigger, but while making them bigger, how do we make sure that they're incrementally more profitable as well? So at this point of time, it's just do the same job that you were doing last week, a little bit better, with the support of fantastic partners like Aditya and other leaders in our organization.
So when Airbnb decides to tie up with the Jaipur Palace and things like that, what does it mean for OYO?
We feel great. I mean, Airbnb is tied up with us.
It's invested in you, right?
So we feel in good company. We feel in good company. By the way, that was a fantastic decision. I feel that one of the best things that Airbnb India would have done, a great partnership and something that I'm very highly supportive of. But at the same time,
so are we going to see Jaipur Palace on OYO too?
We welcome the ability to manage any beautiful spaces across this country.
That's a good pitch.
Actually, we have a few palaces, by the way.
We have a few palaces.
By the way.
In fact, yesterday I was around after Jaipur in near Sikar, Churu and so on areas. There are a couple of OYO palaces around there. So from OYO perspective, you can find beautiful 10,000 villas and apartments across the country, both on Airbnb.com as well as on OYO.com. And we are very happy to serve them as well.
Are you going to be in still this expansion mode, or are you perhaps now going to say, okay, now I'm in so many countries, it's been rapid growth, let's stay put, let's grow first and then look at new geographies? But where's your headspace at?
I think you should add, as the new incoming board member.
No, I think there is just a massive, massive opportunity out there.
So you're going to continue to grow?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you're not going to say, let's stay put and
I think what we should do is keep improving our processes. Keep improving our execution, keep improving our delivery. But we have a once in a lifetime opportunity of creating a truly global brand, going out there and solving this accommodation needs across the world, which is a secular need across the world. And it's
so what Aditya means is not expansion of geography. It is about expansion of making sure that if they are in Noida, for instance, or in Bhubaneswar, or in, let's say, United States, one of the cities, where OYO is already at, we should continue to go deeper and
penetrate.
Make sure. Yes. So we should penetrate more, and we should make sure that, like Aditya says, improve the processes and so on and so forth. So it is definitely once in a lifetime opportunity of bringing consumers good quality spaces at the right price points in the right locations. We feel we are already in significant amount of locations, but in those locations, we need to do a lot more. And that's what we are both very excited about working
So you're going to keep entering new cities, or you're going to focus on penetrating where you are at the moment?
Mostly penetrating the cities that we are in, because you're already in lots of cities.
But Ritesh, we're also talking at a time when all the projections show that global growth is going to be down. We've seen some disappointing macroeconomic data in India as well. Apparently consumption is down. Do you agree with that?
Look, I think we of course talk little bit about macroeconomics, but we mostly talk about microeconomics of OYO, because this in itself is an economic ecosystem. I think the OYO, of course, globally there is some of the slowdown perspectives that are being shown, but here at OYO we are seeing two very interesting things. One, increasingly we are seeing consumers wanting to say that hotel accommodation is a discretionary expense, and hence, if given a choice, I would rather use an OYO which provides right quality but at a much lower price point, so my discretionary spends are lower. And the second thing I believe is that fundamental need of travel is hotels, so we feel that this need will continue to remain. So our growth in India as well as overseas continues to remain very strong, and the reason for that is consumer demand for OYO. We are not seeing a slowdown. We are seeing December is a big season for us. Aditya will tell a little bit more of what he's seeing in India. We are seeing demand like never before. Goa's selling like never before. Mathiran, Alibag, Mussoorie, Manali, Shimla, Kochi.
Manali in that cold?
It's amazing that people travel in cold to all these hill stations around the end of the month. Still, because from Delhi, this is still one of the most closest locations that exist.
Yeah, let me kind of answer that question in two parts. If I look at just the last 30 days, right? Because people are, this is a hot topic of discussion. In the month of November, our occupancy was significantly higher than what our internal target occupancy was for November. In the month of November, there is no Diwali, Dussehra, there is no Christmas. Sort of a relatively lean trough.
Escape pollution.
Right, probably. But all around the country, we saw a much bigger occupancy number than what we had thought it would be. Now let's kind of zoom out. And just to amplify the point that Ritesh was making, I saw this myself 8 or 9 years ago, right?
Yeah.
When the world goes through some kind of a nervousness, so-called recession, slowdown, whatever it is, the traffic or the demand immediately moves to a more affordable product, provided you're able to deliver consistently on what you're promising it. I saw that in the airline business. You would have seen a massive expansion of low-cost carriers during the 2010 to 2012-13 period, right? Some big boys disappeared. On the other hand, it's same thing we're probably going to see, where you will see that hotel traffic will move towards more affordable quality spaces.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed, fingers crossed. Dangerously looking out into the future.
So I'm going to be cheeky and ask you, Aditya, that when you come to your new role and you have to fly out overseas a lot more, how are you going to fly Indigo?
Yes. We have a policy where most of us fly coach, right? So
do you fly coach?
So
Yeah, I mean,
he flies coach actually more than probably me.
So there's a
Are you higher maintenance? Is that what you're saying?
I'm higher maintenance when I go from here to New York City or from here to Palo Alto. But no,
you fly coach to New York and Palo Alto?
No, so if the flight distance is less than 8 hours, then everybody's supposed to fly coach.
Okay.
Otherwise,
so you escape it.
Yeah. So I at least get the row 1, on Indigo.
Due to Aditya being with me, sometimes I get lucky as well.
Okay.
Somebody once told me, it's sitting on row 1 in Indigo is like, standing in Times Square, At some point in time, you'll meet everybody.
Okay, it's a good networking place.
Especially in Delhi, Bombay.
Yeah, that's true.
It is.
It could be non-Vistara also. You may not like hearing that, but it's true.
But they have done a great job in customer service.
Absolutely.
I mean, what a fantastic experience they have made for consumers.
A lot of Vistara is ex-Indigo folks,
Look at that.
Look, I'm still a loyalist.
With that, gentlemen, I'd like to thank both of you for being so candid and giving
Thank
us
you
a
very much.
exclusive interview to ET Now.